Robert, for some reason, I couldn't hear you there. I don't know if you were maybe on mute yourself for a moment there.
Now we're going.
Okay.
Apologies to everyone at home, but welcome in. And the Vice President and Director of Athletics at Eastern Kentucky University joins us, Matt Roan. Excited to have him back for another evening talking about EKU's move to the ASUN Conference. July 1, 2021 will be day one of a new era of EKU Athletics. And Matt, just to get us going a little bit, why did this move make so much sense for this institution?
Well, first off, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you again tonight. The strategy that we've had here is hopefully to be able to share as much information as we can with a loyal fan base. Try to get a lot of people excited. And Robert, admittedly, when you were talking there, I could see your mouth moving, but I couldn't hear anything. I panicked for a second, thought, I've done something wrong, because you're much better at this than I am. But when you talk about why does this make sense, why does this move make sense for the institution? Again, I've said many times now that this was the right move for many reasons, both institutionally and athletically. For us to have the opportunity to introduce ourselves, our brand, expand our brand in a growing part of the country, to have the exposure and to have the visibility with our alumni base, the fact that 100,000 living alumni occupy that ASUN footprint, were all great things for us on that side of the house. When you talk about expanding the brand, being able to introduce what EKU is and the great teaching and research and service that happens here on this campus to that broader base and to people who maybe don't know the EKU story and what a great place that it is. Those things were the right things for us to do from an institutional standpoint. When you talk athletically, iron sharpens iron. The opportunity to join two other brands in a already competitive 9-team conference. Great mix of public and private institutions who are committed to academic excellence, who are committed to athletic excellence. For us, we know that this is going to be a great competitive league. The opportunity to introduce ourselves and expand our recruiting footprint. We're already recruiting heavily in Florida and Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee, and occasionally get a student athlete from Arkansas. But to have the opportunity to expand beyond what we do here, and certainly we want to make sure that we're taking care of Kentucky first, but to be able to get into the Southeast is something that's very important for us as well. And you talk about the student experience, even more so than the student athlete experience, but to try to maximize the number of home games that we're able to have, to try to bring new opponents in here, new and exciting opponents in here that we believe we can blend well with our traditional existing rivalries. There's countless ways that this move made sense for the institution. There's countless ways this move made sense for the athletics department, and we're excited and optimistic, and can't wait to get started on July 1.
I know last week you had the chance to tell the student athletes over a Zoom call about this move, and a lot of them were really excited. A little bit, if you don't mind discussing, how does this benefit so many different parties, and specifically the student athlete?
Certainly our student athletes always kind of come up with the most unique questions, those that you can't anticipate. And so it's great to have that dialogue with them. And I'm unapologetic about the fact that they're always going to be our number one stakeholder. And so having the opportunity to introduce them to new opponents and traveling to new cities, some of which many of them may have never gone before. That's always going to be the most important thing for me and our administration, is to make sure that our student athlete experience is a positive one. That when we do an exit survey at the end of their eligibility, when they're moving on to be a professional, whether it's in sport or not, that they're glowing when they talk about their experience here. And so that's always the number one thing for us. When you consider our alumni that I talked about a moment ago, when you look at our fans and parents, the opportunity to travel to destination locations and to see the Colonels play in places that they haven't gone before, that was something that was very attractive to us and became, really attractive to us as we navigated our own football season this fall and going to places like Charleston, going into Alabama, going to Arkansas for the first time. All of those things are very important. Again, I talked about that student success and that student experience piece. With probably a maximum of 7 football playing schools in this new ASUN, the opportunity to have 5 non-conference games. And the chances of you being able to play at least 5, maybe 6, as many as 7 games right here inside of Roy Kidd Stadium, it's just the right move for us. And so there was not a group, Robert, and this as we've talked up and down the hall, when you consider our student athletes, our students, our faculty, our staff, our alums, our fans, parents, I mean, you name it. There wasn't a group that we did not consider in the same way that I think it's the right move for the institution. I have a firm belief that it's the right move for every single one of those stakeholder groups as well.
And that's one of the first questions we see coming through tonight on our questions in a discussion. How will this be a great opportunity for women's sports now being in the ASUN? And we talked a little bit about football, which many people have asked about, but this is a broad-based decision and impacts all of these teams in such a positive way.
Absolutely. And I love the hashtag girl mom that I saw there. I'm a hashtag girl dad. So my first 2, I'm the dad of 4 kids, ages 10, 8, now 7 and 4. I've got so many, I forget the ages sometimes, but for us, this was never going to be a decision that was about one program or even 2 programs or 3 programs. We are proud of the fact that we sponsor 16 programs. And this had to be the right move for every single one of those. Not only, in the here and now and making sure that we wrap up in the OVC the right way and that our student athletes would have every opportunity afforded to them as we conclude a 73-year chapter, but obviously moving forward as well. And again, when you talk about the opportunity to go to new locations, the opportunity to travel a little differently than we have in some times past. And I told our soccer and volleyball student athletes, for instance, last week, how excited I was for them to be able to get on a plane and go to Fort Myers or to, DeLand, Florida, or Jacksonville, or Atlanta. I mean, you name it, the places that we're going to be able to travel. The ASUN is a competitive league. When I talk again about those 9 schools who are there, we think the 3 additions that we're making only improve the league. But in the most recent full athletic year that it experienced, which was the 18-19 year, obviously 19-20 was disrupted by COVID, and we've continued to deal with that. There were 19 postseason opportunities for those teams. And so, again, this is not about one sport. This is about the 16 that we have, the 20 that this conference sponsors, making sure that every single one of our student athletes are in the best interest to be successful, or best position to be successful, excuse me.
That last question came from one of the family members of one of our women's basketball players. In keeping on that basketball theme, Weber Hamilton asked via email, and also Katie George from London, Kentucky, asked about scheduling for basketball. The specific question, will we continue to see Friday, Saturday scheduling with the same opponent? Maybe you could discuss a little bit about the COVID situation and how that affected scheduling this year.
Yeah, that is only done because of COVID. Certainly you're seeing a lot of leagues do that. I know I have a lot of friends in the Sun Belt Conference, and they're not really playing anybody on the opposite division. They're playing their rival kind of in a back-to-back day, home and away, because it's easier to travel to. And then they're playing every other opponent, both home and away, twice on Fridays and Saturdays. And what you've seen the ASUN do is kind of do that model where they're trying to minimize the exposure, try to mitigate the impact of COVID. And so that's the only reason that those games are going to be played on Fridays and Saturdays. Admittedly, certain scheduling details will still kind of hash out, but those will be very similar to what we've experienced thus far, where we play a game kind of latter part of the week and then one on the weekend. And the question I get a lot is about the regionalization or the divisional alignment. And for us, basketball will be a sport that probably won't be as regional as some of the other ones. But we're going to make every effort to make sure that we're getting those teams that are closest to us, that it's driving fans to Alumni Coliseum or our baseball park, our softball park, our soccer fields, our track complex everywhere. And we're looking forward to that.
And I think that hits a little bit on Ron Jackson's question about travel. And I know we said a moment ago, a lot of the kids excited to be getting on a plane to go to Florida occasionally as part of that, the travel. And that kind of brings up the question, expenses and revenue opportunities as part of this move. And Jan Barnes here in Richmond asked about the cost of leaving the OVC and the opportunities and the cost of joining the ASUN. Talk a little bit about the opportunities that present themselves by joining a new conference like the ASUN.
Well, I'll go back to that original question just for a moment. When we're talking about that missed class time, what we've estimated and what we forecasted, again, because of the priority of being regional and being divisional, we do not anticipate much of an increase in that time away from class. And certainly we are very fortunate here to have the resource that we do in the Bradski Student Athlete Academic Success Center. Monica Benbell as the director there, the relationship that we have with our Student Success Division, that's something that not a lot of schools our size with the resources that we have get to have something that nice. And so our Bradski folks, with, again, Monica, our assistant director, our two academic advisors, our GAs that we have there, our office associate, they're going to make sure that our student athletes have the resources that they need to be successful in that time that they're away from class. And so I lost sight a little bit of your question there. I know you mentioned Jan Barnes. She's one of my favorite people. Was the next question just about some of those, the cost of leaving the OVC, I think the cost of playing in the ASUN?
Yeah, it's just the opportunities with revenue and what that looks like moving forward. Okay,
and I'll kind of mention fairly briefly the cost of leaving the OVC. That's something that, we want to make sure that we go out the right way. And our administration, myself, our president, our board, our cabinet, certain members of it, we're certainly going to work with the OVC to make sure that transition it goes smooth at the same time of being very, very forward thinking and looking forward to the ASUN. But didn't have really the chance to go into a lot of specifics in terms of the financials last week, kind of getting hit with question after question. And so you don't want to, belabor the point too much. But our entry fee into the ASUN is only $5,000. That is unheard of. And that, I think that's a testament to the value that the ASUN has placed on us as members. And I think the vision of what it wants to become, we have to pay that over 5 years. So you can do the math. That's $1,250 a year. And so we're very fortunate to be in the position that we're in there and consider ourselves, again, fortunate. Our annual dues, our operating assessments, things of that nature, they are on par with what we currently pay in the OVC. And so, the final piece then is salary, scholarships, and operating budgets. And our salaries are comparable. Our scholarships are comparable, and our operating budgets are comparable. And so we don't see that there's this, as we forecasted, this great increase in expenses. There may be, there will be, and we're certainly prepared for those, and we'll reassign some dollars the way that we need to in order to make sure that our programs, again, have the resources that they need in order to be successful. But I think we all have a tendency, myself included, you think of expenses, and I was on a call today where we made this point, you think of expenses without really considering the increase in revenue. And we are going to have an opportunity to renegotiate our media rights agreement with the additions of the 3 schools coming in. And so we know that that's going to be lucrative when you consider the market size, the demographics that we're making ourselves available to. We're looking forward to that opportunity. Revenue sharing, the idea for corporate sponsorships and things of that nature to be distributed throughout the league. One of the things that a lot of folks have probably heard me talk about are these ideas when I talk about those non-conference opportunities. Maybe we play a neutral site game, and that game is sponsored by the Jan Barnes fan club. And I know that's a great group to be associated with, but then those dollars could come back to us as well. And so we're excited about the potential revenues, the opportunity to enhance existing ones and then find those new ones as well.
So we saw Stephen has joined us from Madison, Mississippi, and he had asked a question earlier this week. When will the football schedule be finalized, and will there be an effort to maintain established relationships with perennial rivals? That question from Stephen in Madison, Mississippi. Also saw that question come in from Ted Green in Atlanta.
Well, I will tell you, as going back to the point that it was important for me to communicate with my peers in the OVC as once the decision was made to move on from the league. And I called every single one, or I've had communication with every single one of my peers. And I've let them know, and I've stated this before, that to me, common sense should always prevail. We want to do what's right for, again, our student athletes, our fans, our alumni, and so on and so forth. And to me, maintaining traditional rivalries and aligning ourselves into a new conference that's strategically important for us to do, those two things are not exclusive of one another. I think you've seen this year with basketball, with the OVC going to a 20-game schedule. We played, 9 normal weeks, but we also played 2 games back in December against Moorhead. And December is typically a time where you play non-conference opponents. And so I think you've seen, with a little bit of creativity and I think just will to make sure that we're protecting those rivalries, that is something that can be done, and we're going to make every effort to make sure that we can do just that. The football schedule, my best hope is that is finalized this week. The reality is that it'll probably linger just a little bit longer. I've shared again publicly that our goal is to try to grow to 6, 7, as many as 8 members right away. Certainly there are different challenges associated with that, and so the ASUN does have available to it a scheduling partnership with the Big South, an affiliate partnership with the Big South, where we know we could pick up games there and again maintain that access, that automatic qualifying access into the FCS playoffs. And there are other schools who are going through the same move that we are right now, and so there are other partnerships that could be explored or are being explored, and we're certainly going to make the best decision for us. And I see another question there, Robert, as it relates to football that has just came through. We are scheduled to play Louisville this upcoming year. The question was, will there still be some FBS games scheduled for football? We are scheduled to play Louisville this year, and absolutely. The scheduling flexibility that we have, we want to make sure that we're being strategic in our scheduling, where we're going, who we're playing, to give ourselves, again, the best chance to be successful and the best chance to make sure that we're playing in front of alums and fans, and giving our parents the chance to drive and to watch their young men and women compete. But our FBS games are absolutely going to be a vital part of our schedule moving forward.
There's so much evolving in college football right now, and a lot of questions that come in about FBS, FCS, and all those different things. Can you talk a little bit about how the game is changing so much and what's going on within college football right now in that regard?
Yeah, I think, shoot, if I was accurate at all, if I was, could kind of foresee the future, I'd probably have a lot more money and wouldn't be sitting where I am right now. I could add a lot of value to a lot of folks, but certainly the landscape is changing, and we saw that really back in the spring when COVID started happening. You started to hear that, hey, so and so is going to drop sports, or so and so might drop athletics, and hey, so and so is trying to move and change their position. And we wanted to lead change. We never want to respond to it, and that's a testament again to my boss, Dr. David McFadden. And his boss, Louis Diaz, and our vice chair, Alan Long, and our entire board, and again, the President's Council and our campus community. We wanted to make sure that we were leading in that change. There are very specific ways that you can go FBS. One of the ways is to receive an invite from a conference. One of the ways is to receive a waiver without a conference invitation and go the Liberty route, who will be a member school with us in the ASUN, and go the independent route with that. And that has served them well. We do anticipate, and I think could foresee some changes on the horizon as to what those requirements are and how we may play into those. But again, for us, I think going back to the core of your question, Robert, that college athletics, when you consider name, image, likeness, when you consider everything that's out there, the transfer portal, and how college athletics is really changing, that the very fabric of it is changing somewhat. We wanted to make sure that we were aligned in a league with schools that gave us the best chance to be successful, not just now, but into the future as well.
And a couple questions have come in over time here, talking about the different members playing different levels. And I think that has maybe confused a few folks. Can you explain how Liberty is an FBS member, but there's also FCS members and other levels within the ASUN Conference?
Yeah, I think the ASUN is one of only 2 leagues in the country that allows its members to play really at all 4 levels of football, and it's a little bit of a misnomer. A lot of people will talk about Division I AAA, which is another way of saying those schools who just don't compete in football. Stetson is an FCS non-scholarship school in the same way that Moorhead is. They're a member of the Pioneer League in football, which is a national league that really allows those schools to schedule against one another. Liberty is an FBS independent, and they have every reason to continue that path with the success that they've had. And then for us, we will be an FCS member with the goal of creating the most premier FCS football conference in America. And again, we're at 5 members right now. Our goal is to get to 6 and 7, as many as 8. And we think the quality of that league from top to bottom will be unrivaled at the FCS level, and I think could lead to opportunities in the future. You have a bunch of schools who are committed to being successful, not just in football, but in everything. But because the question relates to football, who are committed to competing at the highest level, whatever that level is in time.
A couple more questions coming in about facilities, and sometimes the fans don't always get to see some of the things going on behind the scenes for the student athletes, whether it be improvements to the academic center, locker rooms, and all. But what might the fans see over time with facilities?
Well, we're very proud, this year in a challenging year, we're very proud of the fact that we were able to resurface our track and field facility. We were very proud along those same lines that we were able to repurpose the old rec center on campus and repurpose that into a space to be used for offices for it's the Olympic Sports Training Center and field and cross country programs. It houses our soccer coaches' offices, and it really gives us another practice site for many of our teams to utilize, primarily our women's sports, and that's a point of pride for us. We were able to recently complete the installation of our 3 beach volleyball courts, and if you haven't had a chance yet, please come by and take a peek at that. And we're excited about opening that up this spring. And then most recently, we were able to do some creative things because of so many people on this call, because of loyal donors and very generous donors, to put some turf down in one of the gym spaces in the Begley building, as well as some wrestling mats, kind of rubber mats, if you will, to allow our student athletes to have our version right now of an indoor space. For us looking forward, part of the past year has been developing an athletics facilities master plan, understanding that we've made a lot of progress, but we've got a lot of progress still to make. Alumni Coliseum, where I'm sitting right now, it does require attention for no other reason than we want to make sure that we're preserving this asset. Roy Kidd Stadium, our soccer facility. I mean, so many others. In college athletics, especially at the Division I level, if you're not doing something every single year, you're really falling behind. And that is not me, I think, elaborating. And those changes don't have to be, grand all the time. But you want to make sure that your student athletes see that commitment every single year, that you're committed to getting their programs better, and facilities is a big way to do just that.
Some of that is definitely philanthropic giving to the Colonel Club. And Matt, just talk a little bit about the importance of what the donor base here, who has committed so much to EKU Athletics, means to the growth of this program.
It means everything. Again, I kind of wear as a badge of honor that this notion that I'm the conduit to people's passion. I've always said that. I learned that from a mentor of mine, that I didn't play here. I didn't go to school here. I didn't grow up in this community, but it's become my home and it's become my school. But nevertheless, I have ideas and I have plans of where I think that we need to go. And certainly I pay attention to what people say and to what people share with me, letting me know kind of thoughts. And when you share those ideas and your thoughts, please know that they are given consideration. And we want to make sure that we're doing right by the people on this call and the people scattered around the country and the world, for that matter, who have gone to school here, who grew up in this community or this region, and who have purchased tickets for a long time. And the main thing that I want to say, Robert, it's a long-winded way of saying that, the members of our Colonel Club and those people who buy tickets, but specifically, those who are on the Colonel Club and joining us here tonight, you are the lifeblood of our program. For us to have the success that we want, that we desire, that I think that we need and we deserve, it requires all of us. And we do have the support from an administration, a president, a board, who believe in the value of athletics, understanding that it's a great way to introduce ourselves to others. It's a great leadership laboratory for young men and women to come here and go out and be leaders in their community. It's a great way for us to highlight the great things that happen on this campus with an unbelievable faculty and staff that we represent here. But for us to get there, it falls upon us as well. It's selling tickets, it's securing sponsorships, and it's doing our part to put a product on the field and create an experience and do community service so that the people on this call and those who pay attention and who care will contribute their time, their treasure, their talent, whatever it may be, for the benefit of all 16 of our programs. And we're indebted to you. And hopefully we've created an environment, one that's built on trust and confidence. And when you know that a dollar that comes to us is a meaningful dollar, it's appreciated, whether it's one or a million. It does not matter. Every amount in between and above is something that's going to be valued to us. Every member who gives to the Colonel Club is valued to us. And we want to make sure that we're doing right by our Colonel Club members, that they know how much we appreciate them, and that by supporting us, they are directly supporting student athletes through student athlete scholarships. For us, when I talk about that budget piece a moment ago, and I talk about how we stack up, believe it or not, our scholarship bill, because we are fully funded, it's a high one. And so if we can make a dent into our scholarship bill, that does free up dollars to travel and to recruit and to provide nutrition and facility enhancements and stuff. So that's a really long-winded way to say just how much or how appreciative we are of the Colonel Club and the people who make it up. Robert, did I lose you again?
There we go. The Colonel Club, our staff is without question here to match your passions as fans of this program. And we're happy to speak with you anytime we can to support that here at EKU. As we get back to a couple more questions here in just a moment. And Matt, Jim Bowman from here in Kentucky asked this question, and he wanted to know a little bit about some things within the Colonel Club. And he asked, does the athletic department have plans to offer away game packages that include transportation for students or alumni to join the team on away games moving forward?
Yeah, I certainly think that that's something that we want to explore. For us, we want to make sure that we're being responsible with the dollars that we're able to raise, that the dollars that were given by the institution. And so if there is a demand there, when you're looking at some of the destinations, starting as close as Louisville, with Bellarmine being in the league with us, if the demand is there, absolutely, we want to make sure that we're providing those experiences for donors and fans and students to be able to travel and watch the Colonels play wherever they are.
Jim also asked about the input from the EKU student body and alumni as part of this process. And as part of that, tomorrow night, I know you'll be speaking with students from across campus to talk about the move. And also during the ASUN movement process, I believe we had maybe a student or two involved in that process from our Student Athlete Advisory Council.
We did. These issues are sensitive. And so you've got to be really careful to not let the cat out of the bag too soon. And so, we were strategic about engaging, again, all of those groups, whether it be alumni, our faculty, our staff, our student body, our student athletes as well. We're we're all kind of subject to a simple tweet and how things could get out from time to time. But we wanted to be very strategic about that. But a lot of that was also organic. And especially as we've really navigated this past year, we heard people say, man, it's great to see new people come in here and play. We got to hear, hey, it was great to go to these other places that I mentioned and to see new places and new stadiums and try to develop those types of things. And so, again, we were strategic, but a lot of it was organic that got back to us, that gave us the confidence that we needed to ultimately make the decision to join the ASUN. Robert, every time there's a pause, I think I've lost you. Are you still there?
There we go. Last night we'd had a question from Eddie Runyon that I think Chair Diaz spoke to, and it was about getting multiple teams into postseason, both in football and other sports. We talked a little bit about how this change in schedule will continue to play a great league schedule, but now that there are some of these OVC teams, and that can help elevate net rankings in basketball, RPIs, and other sports as we play some of the good teams that are in this area, and what that does from a scheduling standpoint for us.
Yeah, it absolutely does. We want to build competitive schedules. We want to build experiences. And again, scheduling is not something, I promise you, it's not something that we throw at the wall just to see what would stick. It is very much based on relationships, and I'm fortunate to work with a great group of head coaches that have great relationships in this industry, in their respective sports. And so, for us, we want to give our student athletes the best chance to be successful. We want to balance the time away from class. We want to balance the expenses. All of those things are important. But we're always going to be driven with scheduling and making sure that we're prioritizing our student athlete and fan experiences as well.
I want to bring the map back up of the ASUN Conference, and fans will see some similar foes in some similar places we've seen. Obviously, earlier this year, the football program took a trip to Conway, Arkansas, but some big markets as well that this program is going to be in now, in Nashville again, traveling to Louisville on a regular basis now to take on Bellarmine, Atlanta, and throughout the state of Florida. So many opportunities to reach so many alums across the landscape. Matt, what I know we spoke to it a little bit early, but reaching that alumni base and having a chance for new fans that maybe haven't been able to get to Richmond lately, have a chance to come back and see the Colonels in their hometown, across the state of Florida, across the state of Georgia, new locations. How exciting is that right now?
It's a lot. It's very exciting. I'm going to pull up an email, and I talked a little bit about it last night. I hope I can find the name, and I hope that maybe they've joined tonight. But Saturday, I received a call from Commissioner Ted Gumbart, and he shared an email with me. Darcy Minor and Josh Minor, both class of 2016. They ran into the commissioner in Macon. I think it was at a grocery store. I said that last night. I hope I'm not wrong there. But I guess they had on EKU clothes. He had on his ASUN clothes. And they just struck up a conversation and talked about, the mutual excitement that both sides have to be able to see us play and to be welcomed into the league. And, for us, that is true. The opportunity, we would never do anything that took us out of Kentucky. And we want to make sure that, with Bellarmine in the league, being in the state's Commonwealth's largest metropolitan area, being able to protect those rivalries inside the state, with even Northern Kentucky, dipping into Ohio, that's always going to be important. The places that have always been important to us will continue to be important. But to be able to go where our alums are, and again, that's a staggering number for me, 100,000 living alumni in that footprint. We know when the Colonels show up to play that there's going to be a lot of maroon and white that maybe we haven't had the opportunity to see in years past, that will be able to see us for the first time in a long time. And there's a lot of value to that.
We're about 25 minutes away from tip-off of tonight's basketball game. We'll make sure to give people enough time to maybe get a snack before tip-off, as Colonels take on Jacksonville State tonight down in Jacksonville, Alabama. That game will be on ESPN Plus. Earlier this season, we had a really exciting one with that squad here in McBrayer Arena, 69-66 win in overtime on January 7th. A couple more games this weekend here in McBrayer Arena. On Thursday night, Austin Peay comes to town for a 7 p.m. now game with the men. The women's game currently pushed back to a later date due to some issues in the other program. But that Austin Peay game, on your tickets, it may say 8 p.m. That game has been moved up to 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, an exciting doubleheader as in-state rival Murray State comes to town, 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. for those two games. 13-2 on the season, Matt. 7-1 in the conference. It's been an exciting men's basketball campaign, and a lot of exciting things happening on the women's side as well right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I will add that not only is Sunday Super Bowl Sunday, but it's the opener of our volleyball season as well. So at 4 p.m., Colonel Volleyball Program will open up its 2020-2021 campaign, playing host to UT Martin right here in AC as well. And so the spring that we all looked forward to, the spring that would be combined with a combination of fall sports, winter sports, and our traditional spring sports is upon us. And so there are plenty of opportunities to avail yourselves of checking out your favorite team here on campus. But yeah, Robert, I mean, to your point, it's certainly been an exciting winter for us. We're excited to have our cross-country teams, cross-country and track and field now getting underway with volleyball to come. But specifically for basketball, we've got two outstanding head coaches, and we have two teams with outstanding student athletes. They do things the right way. They're coached the right way. We're very proud of where we are right now on the men's basketball side, and really at kind of the midway point, slightly over. We've got a chance to make a run and to compete for a championship, and that's what you want to do. Is you want to be relevant in February and March and give yourself the best chance that you could be to be successful in this unique year. And I think the continued growth that we're seeing with our women's program, Coach Williams, her team. You could see the statistics there, where we rank, the quality of basketball that is being played. This program continues to improve every single year, and in time will be a championship caliber program as well.
Both teams looking to reach the OVC tournament in the same year for the first time since 2014. I know a big crowd in Evansville last year to see the men in that semifinal game. That was so exciting. And great progress being made again this year, and lots of excitement. I know our friends in Louisville had a chance to read today in the Courier-Journal a piece by Dominic Yates about all the great kids from the state of Kentucky that are on that team. So something else to reach out and check out before tip-off tonight. I know Weber Hamilton and Carl Kuhn were asking some questions about the basketball team tonight and are very excited about this game. But let's kind of close out a little more on the ASUN Conference. And it's such an exciting time. Matt, July 1 will come around quicker than we think in some ways. But what's it going to be like next year when the first game starts and EKU takes the field and takes the courts in the ASUN Conference?
Whew, man, I got a lot of time between now and July 1, but I know it's going to be here sooner than we know it. We're going into it with a ton of optimism. We're going to it with a ton of potential and what we think are the best years ahead. And I know watching tonight, I've seen President Whitlock chime in, and again the long history that he has with the league, and it's important to me to see that he's excited about this move. Him and Miss Joanne. It's exciting for me to see Paul and Ava Vaughn talking about this and that move. And I hope this is something that our fan base can rally around. I think it could be a shot in the arm to make sure that the success that we have is forward thinking and not always really dwelling in the past. I said when I was introduced this time last year that the shame would be if our best years were behind us. And this move is forward thinking. This move is done again with optimism and hopefulness. It's going to be a special time. We'll celebrate it on July 1. We want to make sure that we go out the right way, and we're competing for 14 championships the rest of the way this spring, and we want to win all 14 of them. But come July 1, it's time to turn the page, to put new patches on our jerseys, to put new logos on our facilities and on our fields. And the ASUN is something that's a great thing for us. And we would not have made the decision if we didn't believe, again, that it was for the right reasons and for the right people. And the right people are every single person on this call, every student athlete that we represent, every alum, every fan. And there's a reason to celebrate right now.
We want to remind everybody how much we appreciate your support through the Colonel Club, through sports-specific giving, your passion, your excitement for EKU athletics, whether it be by buying tickets, being in the stands with us, following along on ESPN Plus for so many of our games. We are happy to serve you in any way we can. Please reach out to a member of our Colonel Club staff. You'll see email addresses, phone numbers up on the screen right now. We are happy to serve you in any way we can to match your passion and excitement for these teams on a regular basis. We appreciate the opportunity to sit here tonight with you and remind you we'd love to have you consider a gift to the Colonel Club in recognition of the ASUN Conference move. It's an exciting time for EKU athletics and an important time as we continue to grow and move forward and get really excited about what's to finish up this year in such a tradition rich league that we've been in and celebrate. And we look forward to continuing that success and winning championships across the board as we move to the ASUN Conference. A few minutes before basketball, we appreciate everyone joining us tonight. Good luck to the men's basketball team tonight. We look forward to seeing everybody in McBrayer Arena this weekend. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.